The moon was low in the sky, throwing ghostly shadows across the derelict remains of roller coasters and abandoned arcade booths. Long has the abandoned amusement park been cloaked in mystery and eerie rumors. However, for a band of 5 risk-takers, curiosity won out over apprehension. Sam was one of them. He was the group's resident risk-taker, often coming up with crazy plans to keep everyone from becoming bored. Despite her skepticism, Tara enjoyed being scared and would occasionally roll her eyes at Sam's pranks. Mark, the reserved academic, planned to use the trip to dispel spooky rumors about the area. Sarah, a realistic realist, was hesitant yet intrigued by the prospect of a ghostly outing with her pals. Alex, the resident clown, had a chuckle that could light up a room even on the darkest of nights. As they walked up to the squeaky gate, they parked their automobiles on the edge of the overgrown parking lot. Time had forgotten this location, and now all that was left was an unsettling calm instead of the sound of children laughing and adults screaming. Deeper into the park they went, their torch beams cutting through the night. The prizes from the broken carnival games have long since been destroyed by the weather. The posters, which formerly promoted exhilarating thrills, now had a dark, unearthly sheen. As they entered the park's hub, they could not help but take in the imposing profile of the dismantled Ferris wheel. Its metal framework made an eerie orchestra of creaks and groans as it swayed in the wind. Sarah had the unshakable impression that they were being watched, and the park's gloomy ambience had even begun to wear down Tara's doubts. Mark responded rather shakily. "Okay, Sam, we're here. The park is just as creepy as you said it would be, so what?" Sam beamed, enjoying the spotlight. "Right here in the middle of the park is where we're setting up camp for the night, guys. We'll have a ghost party and try to make contact with the spirits who are claimed to haunt the area by telling scary tales and playing scary games." Then Alex added, "And if we're lucky, maybe we'll even hear the ghosts of parkgoers screaming on the haunted roller coaster." The group laughed awkwardly at the remark, but there was clearly tension in the air. They made camp in the shade of the Ferris wheel by setting up a small bonfire and spreading out sleeping bags. As they drew nearer to the roaring fire, the park's background noises came alive. Sounds like they're coming from a haunted carousel's swings. The breeze conveyed the faint sound of phantom laughing. The theme park seemed to wake up to their presence, like it had been sleeping for a long time. The tension intensified as the night progressed, and tales of ghostly sightings and angry afterlife residents circulated. Eventually, the jovial atmosphere of the haunted amusement park began to feel eerily quiet. Unbeknownst to them, they had awoken something that had been dormant for a long time beneath the park's rust and rot. And as the clock neared midnight, the gang realized that their decision to spend the night in the abandoned amusement park had put in motion a series of events that would permanently change their lives and plunge them into a nightmare beyond their darkest imaginings. The night became colder as the company crowded around the campfire, recounting stories of ghostly sightings and unusual occurrences, and an eerie calm descended upon the deserted amusement park. A chill ran down their spines as they realized that the swings and children's laughing were now only faint echoes in the distance. Even resident skeptic Tara was beginning to feel uneasy. She had never given credence to ghostly tales, writing them off as silly superstitions. But something about the park was starting to change her mind. "I don't like this," she said, clutching her arms to her chest. "I mean, it's just made-up stuff, right? Paranormal activity does not exist." Sarah, the realistic realist, nodded reassuringly. "We agree with you, Tara. It's probably just us being paranoid over nothing. But I'll confess, I feel a little uneasy here." Disturbing music from an ancient carousel played in the background, cutting into their discourse. The people looked nervously at one another as they searched the night with their torches for the origin of the haunting music. Mark stated with a quiver in his voice, "There's no way the carousel is still operational. No one has lived there in years." However, the music persisted, becoming increasingly ominous as time passed. Like the melody of a siren, it beckoned them closer to the park's beating heart. Sam, the group's daredevil, couldn't contain his curiosity and climbed to his feet, signaling for the others to follow. "Let's have a look at it, fellas. It's most likely merely a recording. Plus, you may use it as a bragging point when you're older." Reluctantly, everyone got to their feet and started following the weird music with their lamps. Once brightly colored horses on the carousel now seemed faded and worn. It sounded like it was being played on a centrally positioned antique music box. As they got closer to the carousel, they saw something strange. Ghostly figures sat on the horses, their transparent bodies swaying to the eerie music. Ghostly in appearance, their features hidden, the people yet exuded a palpable melancholy. Alex, ever the practical joker, yelled to the spectral horsemen, "Hey there, ghosties! Can we come over here and hang out?" One of the ghosts surprisingly faced them, its eyes brimming with a wistful melancholy. It reached out a spectral hand to Sam, and the latter was too curious to resist grabbing hold. Sam's mind was immediately inundated with images and sounds from a terrifying roller coaster accident in a theme park. Realizing with horror that the spectral motorcyclist was actually a former theme park visitor stuck in an endless nightmare, he jerked his palm away. Seeing the party approach, the other ghosts on the carousel faced them, their eyes asking for freedom from the hereafter. The sorrowful tune intensified, engulfing the night with its weight. The terrifying reality dawned on the group. The rides in the decrepit amusement park had come to life, and the spirits of the park's past visitors wanted vengeance for the tragedies that had transpired within the cursed attractions. When everyone finally understood what had happened, panic ensued. Their footsteps echoed across the deserted park as they turned and ran from the carousel. But the specters followed, their wailing voices becoming louder and closer. They had unleashed a nightmare that threatened to swallow them all. Something evil that thirsted for revenge had been awoken. The terrifying night was far from finished, as the group's decision to spend the night in the deserted amusement park had unleashed a demonic power that would follow them wherever they went. Their flashlights shook in their hands as they escaped the malevolent ghosts that chased them through the abandoned amusement park, but desperation drove the gang on. Even after the carousel had been shut down for the night, the music box's eerie tune could be heard echoing through the air, serving as a terrible reminder of the evil that had been let free. As they gasped for air, they came upon a dilapidated structure labeled Hall of Mirrors. They ran in fearlessly, hoping to find safety amid its twisting halls. The hall's interior was a nightmarish landscape where truth and fantasy blurred into one another, a maze of distorted reflections. As they arrived, the group's reflection was shattered in the many mirrors that adorned the walls. Fear set in when they realized the angry ghosts were still on their trail. They could see the ethereal, distorted shapes approaching nearer in the mirrors. They were trapped. The Hall of Mirrors could not be left. Alex, the joker of the bunch, said, "Maybe these mirrors can't handle our stunning good looks," as they desperately looked for an exit. In the oppressive setting of the haunted hall, however, the jokes fell flat. Mark, ever the academic, took a good look at each mirror. In the middle of the jumble of reflections, he spotted the odd one out. It was inscribed in an enigmatic old script and glowed with an unearthly radiance. "Take a look in here," Mark cried out, his voice shaking. "There's a unique quality about it. It just could be the ticket out of here." They were so desperate that they huddled around the strange mirror. A burst of electricity shot through them as their fingertips touched its surface, and their warped reflections in the other mirrors suddenly sprang to life. They twisted and writhed into hideous shapes. Spirits of vengeance howled angrily as they battled to remain invisible in the Hall of Mirrors. The evil energy that had been pursuing the party was broken by the antique mirror, trapping the ghostly figures inside their warped images. However, the calm was only temporary. The mirror's effect seemed to weaken, and the ghost's power increased. They worked together and broke the old mirror, their cries of anguish reverberating through the hall. As the mirror shattered into shards, the gathering looked on in fear. Once again, the enraged ghosts could roam free, their transparent forms rising from the shattered fragments. The gang realized they had to get out of there as the eerie music from the carousel's music box became louder. They ran through the halls of the Hall of Mirrors, with the ghosts hot on their heels and their reflections laughing at their antics. They'd had a glimpse of the spirit's humanity, but the nightmare world they were in still remained. As they sprinted back into the moonlit park from the Hall of Mirrors, they saw that the evil they had unleashed was far stronger and more determined than they had thought. The ghosts were unrelenting in their pursuit, so the only way out was to learn more about the park's sinister past and discover a method to satisfy the enraged ghosts. They understood they were only pawns in a macabre game of retribution being played out by the attraction's ghosts and the park's past visitors, and the night was far from done. They needed to find out what was hiding in the park and face the evil power front on, if they wanted any hope of survival. Tired and afraid, the gang continued to run further into the deserted amusement park. but the malevolent ghosts were always close behind. In the Hall of Mirrors, they had seen the ghosts at their most helpless, but they still couldn't pacify them. As the night drew on, they realized they had to face the evil power head-on and learn the park's sinister secrets. The rusty steel and dashed hopes of the park's centerpiece, the ghost roller coaster, stood before them. It was reported to be the location of a terrible accident that killed a large number of park visitors a long time ago. In the background, they could still hear the odd music from the carousel. It was a tune that seemed to mock and tease them. However, the gang persisted, motivated by the urgent desire to halt the nightmare that had become their reality. Upon getting closer to the roller coaster's entrance, they noticed an unexplainable chill, as if the air itself had cooled. Before them, the coaster's tracks extended into the pitch-black interior. "Okay, we need to figure out what happened here," Mark stated, his voice shaking. "These ghosts' vengeance must stem from something. Perhaps if we can get to the bottom of things, we can find a way to make them happy." Everyone went their own ways, looking for information about the terrible past of the park. The coaster's control room was cluttered with yellowed newspaper articles and old pictures, all of which told the same tragic story of accidents, incompetence, and cover-ups. They eventually found a secret chamber buried behind a stack of dusty service documents. They opened it and discovered a dusty diary, which turned out to be Horace Wainwright's notes during his time as the park's owner. A horrific fact was exposed in the journal. The roller coaster had been plagued with technical breakdowns, and park management had known about the hazards but disregarded them to save money. The sad catastrophe that took so many lives was caused by their carelessness, and the departed park-goers wanted payback for the wrongs they had suffered. As they continued to probe through the book, they found the ledger Horace Wainwright had buried, which detailed the park's illegal activities. The notebook recorded the hush money payments made to the victims' relatives in an effort to quell their grief and conceal the truth. Now that they had the proof they needed, the gang decided to face the angry ghosts and expose the sinister past of the park. Their ghostly shapes were visible in the dim moonlight as they made their way to the center of the roller coaster. The Joker, Alex, came forward, regret in his voice. He then held out the ledger and declared, "We know what happened here," to the ghosts. As the saying goes, we know the truth and we're here to make things right. The dead looked at the humans there with a mix of grief and rage in their ghostly eyes. The music from the carousel's music box started to die out, leaving a somber void in its stead. The gang worked together to burn the ledger, erasing all records of the park's wrongdoing in the process. As the paper burned, the angry ghosts dissipated, their phantom shapes disappearing into the darkness. There was a break in the night's evil spell when the carousel's music box stopped playing its eerie tune. A strange silence descended upon the deserted amusement park, as if the ghosts of years past had finally found rest. The gang departed the deserted amusement park as the day rose, their hearts heavy after the events of the previous night. The nightmare that had trapped them was finally finished after they had confronted furious ghosts and unearthed a sad chapter in the park's past. A terrifying reminder of the evil power that had sought vengeance for previous wrongs. The events of that night would eternally haunt their nightmares. But as they took one last look at the dilapidated rides and attractions of the defunct amusement park, they couldn't help but wish that the park's sad history would remain hidden in the shadows forever, and that the ghosts had achieved the tranquility for which they had longed.